Okay, let's unpack this. When you think of early Islam, um, what's the first major movement, the first migration that really springs to mind?
For most people, yeah, it's got to be the Hijra to Medina. That's the big one, the famous Exodus.
Exactly. The journey to Medina. It reshaped everything. But what if I told you there was an even earlier migration? Critically important, actually, decades before Medina. One that fundamentally altered the course of interfaith history. It's a chapter that's often, overlooked.
Hmm.
But it's absolutely crucial to understanding Islam's origins and, well, its global reach eventually. Today, we're taking a deep dive into Abyssinia's refuge, Islam's first haven. Our sources, they paint this really vivid picture of how a Christian African kingdom, kind of against all expectations, provided refuge to Islam's first persecuted believers.
Right.
And this story, it really challenges modern stereotypes, doesn't it? It reveals Africa's pivotal role right from the very beginning.
What's truly fascinating here, I think, is that this isn't just some historical footnote. This First Hijra, happening around 615 CE, so well before the famous 622 CE migration.
Mm-hmm.
It offers these profound insights into interfaith protection, into moral leadership. It's a testament to these universal values that, frankly, they just transcend time and culture. Makes it incredibly relevant even today as we navigate our own complex interfaith landscapes.
Absolutely. So what does this all mean for you listening? Well, you're about to discover a truly foundational moment in religious history. It highlights unexpected alliances, the enduring power of justice, and how deeply intertwined our human histories really are, often in quite surprising ways. So let's get into the context. The accounts we've reviewed, they paint a pretty stark picture. By the 5th year of Prophet Muhammad's prophethood, the situation in Mecca, it had become dire.
Yeah, dire is the word. The powerful Quraysh elite, the main merchant tribe in Mecca, the ones in charge of the pagan idols, they were deeply invested in the status quo.
Right. And they saw this new monotheistic religion, Islam, as, well, an existential threat.
Absolutely. It directly challenged their religious traditions, their economic power, their whole standing, everything.
And the methods of persecution the Quraysh used, they were brutal, relentless. We're talking direct physical violence, intense social pressure like ostracizing whole families and severe economic boycotts, basically trying to starve them out.
Yeah, it was systematic.
And it wasn't just the vulnerable who suffered. I mean, slaves and the poor, they definitely bore the brunt of it, the absolute worst. But even prominent figures, people like Uthman ibn Affan and Jafar ibn Abi Talib, they faced harassment, torment.
Terrible suffering.
Some, tragically, even faced torture or death just for their faith.
Okay.
It's hard to really grasp the immense courage it must have taken for these early believers to just hold on to their faith in circumstances like that, isn't it?
It absolutely is. The texts, they highlight this profound spiritual strength, but also the agonizing choice many faced. This wasn't just a minor disagreement, you see. It was an existential crisis for that early Muslim community.
Okay.
The level of persecution was so severe that staying in Mecca meant risking, well, not just their freedom, but their lives.
Yeah.
And the integrity of their beliefs. It became clear that to preserve the future of this new faith, something extraordinary was needed. A different path.
And that's precisely what happened. In response to this escalating violence, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, made this crucial strategic decision. He permitted a group of his followers, not everyone, but a group, to leave Mecca, to protect their lives and, importantly, their ability to practice their faith freely. And what's particularly striking, according to all the accounts, is where they went. Their destination wasn't Medina, not yet.
No, that comes later. This was something different.
So with Mecca becoming basically intolerable, where did the prophet advise his followers to go? This leads us to this fascinating and, in hindsight, revolutionary choice: Abyssinia.
Modern-day Ethiopian Eritrea, roughly.
Exactly. Why this Christian African kingdom, way across the Red Sea? Why not another Arab tribe, maybe somewhere closer that might offer refuge?
Yeah, it does seem counterintuitive, doesn't it? Seeking safety in a foreign land, ruled by a king of a completely different faith.
The prophet's guidance to his followers, though, was direct and incredibly telling. He instructed them, and I'm quoting from the sources here, "Go to Abyssinia, where there is a king who does not wrong anyone. It is a land of truth."
Wow, that's quite an endorsement.
It is. A profound statement of trust in the character of this ruler, someone from a totally different religious and cultural background.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, I mean, this decision wasn't random at all, was it? It shows incredibly strategic thinking and a deep, maybe even radical trust in shared moral values, values that could bridge religious and cultural divides.
What made it radical, do you think?
Well, bypassing the traditional tribal structures, for one. That was the bedrock of Arabian society, right? Kinship, alliances. The prophet wasn't just looking for any refuge. He was seeking justice on universal terms, showing that this new faith didn't need tribal ties to find protection. He saw this common ground of justice, of integrity in Negus that was, frankly, missing in many leaders back in Arabia who just saw Islam as a threat to their power and traditions.
And this king, Negus, or al-Najashi, as he's known in the sources, he was indeed described just like that. Fair, respected.
Yeah, his reputation for justice clearly preceded him. It extended well beyond his own kingdom.
Which is why the prophet specifically recommended seeking his protection. The foresight there is, well, it's remarkable.
Truly.
Of course, the Quraysh elite back in Mecca, they weren't just going to let this group sail away and set up a safe haven, were they?
No, not likely. They saw it as undermining their authority, setting a precedent.
Exactly. The accounts explain they immediately dispatched envoys, Ormur ibn Allah, as being a key figure actually, sent them straight to Abyssinia, pursuing the refugees, demanding Negus return them.
What was their argument?
They accused the Muslims of, well, inventing a new religion, disrupting the peace back home, defying Meccan authorities, basically framing them as troublemakers, renegades who had abandoned their ancestral ways.
So trying to discredit them in the eyes of the king.
Precisely. But Negus, true to his reputation for justice, wasn't one to just act on hearsay or pressure. He summoned the Muslim refugees to his court, gave them the chance to explain themselves, to tell their side of the story.
You can just imagine the tension in that room.
Oh, absolutely. Imagine the weight of that moment.
Yeah.
The small group of exiles facing down these powerful envoys from their homeland, the future of their whole faith kind of resting on a single speech, appealing to the fairness of a foreign Christian king.
It's a truly dramatic scene, isn't it? And it raises this important question. What power does a story rooted in, universal moral principles actually hold, especially across different faiths, different cultures? Jafar's speech really illustrates this perfectly. He didn't just defend Islamic doctrine, he appealed to shared human values. Things Negus, as a just ruler, would instinctively get, even if their theology differed. He sort of transcended mere religious argument, speaking to the core of ethical leadership.
And the person chosen to speak for the Muslims was Jafar ibn Abi Talib, the Prophet's cousin.
Right.
His reply, according to the sources, was, well, nothing short of brilliant. Deeply emotional, but also incredibly articulate. He understood his audience. He emphasized Islam's moral teachings, describing the transformation his people had experienced. He said, and this is a famous quote from the sources, "O king, we were a people steeped in ignorance. We worshipped idols, ate carrion, committed abominations, severed ties of kinship, mistreated our neighbors."
Painting a picture of the pre-Islamic state.
Exactly. Then he continued, "Until God sent us a prophet from among ourselves. He commanded us to speak the truth, to fulfill our promises, to be kind to our relatives, to respect the rights of neighbors, and to refrain from forbidden acts and bloodshed."
So framing Islam as a force for moral uplift, for social justice.
Precisely. He painted this picture of a faith that brought light out of darkness, justice out of injustice. It was powerful stuff. Can you just picture the scene? This small group, refugees, standing before this powerful Christian king, facing their persecutors, presenting their new faith not as some political threat, but as a moral awakening.
A direct appeal to the king's own sense of righteousness.
And the sources even mention a key moment. Jafar recited verses from Surah Maryam, the chapter of Mary from the Quran.
Ah, yes, that's significant.
Very significant, because that chapter uniquely honors both Jesus and Mary. It details the Immaculate Conception, Mary's revered status, in a way that would deeply resonate with Christian understanding, right?
Absolutely. A point of common ground, presented beautifully.
And this recitation, the story goes, moved Negus and his bishops to tears, a powerful testament to the message's impact, its appeal to a shared spiritual heritage.
Yeah, the emotional and intellectual resonance of Jafar's plea must have been undeniable. Negus's response, it just clearly shows the profound impact of appealing to those shared spiritual and ethical grounds. He wasn't just hearing religious claims, he was hearing a plea for justice and a description of a faith that championed righteousness, which, aligned perfectly with his own values as a known, fair ruler.
Some might say there were political calculations too, perhaps.
Well, sure, some historical perspectives might suggest Negus, like any ruler, considered the politics. Siding against the powerful Quraysh wasn't trivial. But the overwhelming consensus in the sources, Islamic tradition certainly, is that his decision was primarily driven by his deep commitment to justice and truth. It validated the prophet's initial assessment of his character, didn't it?
It really did. So, having heard both sides, deeply moved by Jafar's words and the Quranic recitation, Negus delivered his definitive decision. He flatly refused to hand the Muslims over to the Quraysh envoys. Flatly refused.
Oh.
Instead, he granted them full protection within his kingdom. This wasn't just passive tolerance, you understand.
No, it was active protection.
Exactly. An act of profound courage, really. Moral leadership, actively shielding this vulnerable group from powerful external pressure, making a bold statement about justice and human rights, even when it carried significant political risk for him.
Definitely a risk. The Quraysh were major trading partners in the region.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the legacy of Negus for these actions, it's remembered with immense respect in Islamic tradition. He's revered for that unwavering commitment to justice. Now, there's some historical debate around whether he personally eventually embraced Islam before his death. The sources differ slightly or are interpreted differently.
Right, that's a point of discussion.
But our sources emphasize that his impact as a protector, as a just ruler who offered sanctuary, that was monumental regardless of his personal conversion status.
Yeah, his actions spoke volumes.
His actions cemented this bond of gratitude and respect that, frankly, continues to this day between the Muslim world and Ethiopia.
And it set this powerful example, didn't it? Resonated throughout early Islamic history and I think still resonates today. It showed that Muslims could find support, find refuge, find justice, not just among their own kin or co-religionists, but from just non-Muslims, people who upheld those universal moral principles.
That's a key takeaway.
For this reason, Ethiopia holds this truly special, deeply revered place in Islamic memory. It's not just a historical location on a map.
Yeah.
It's a symbol, a physical reminder of early, successful interfaith collaboration. Proof that shared values can bridge religious divides, especially in moments of crisis.
So let's pull these threads together. What does this all mean for us today? Our sources offer multiple, really crucial insights from this pivotal moment. Firstly, it highlights the profound role of early interfaith diplomacy. Think about it. Islam's earliest survival, its very existence in that fragile stage, depended heavily on cooperation with Christian allies.
Yeah, fundamentally.
It proved that mutual respect and shared values could override religious differences, even in a time of, existential threat. This wasn't just convenience, it was foundational for interfaith relations.
Couldn't agree more.
Secondly, it really underscores Africa's pivotal and often forgotten role in early Islamic history.
Yes, absolutely critical.
Africa wasn't just some passive recipient of Islam much later on. It actively supported and protected Islam in its most fragile, vulnerable beginnings, providing this crucial haven when, frankly, all seemed lost in Arabia. This reframes a whole narrative of Islam's global spread, doesn't it? Puts Africa right at the heart from the start.
It really does. And it wasn't just a geographical accident, this move to Abyssinia. It reflects, I think, a strategic brilliance that defined the norms of the time.
How so?
Well, the prophetic strategy here was remarkable. The prophet didn't limit his options to just Arab tribes, didn't rely solely on tribal loyalty, which was everything then. He looked beyond tribalism, beyond traditional borders. He sought justice and safety wherever it could genuinely be found, even in a distant Christian kingdom. That shows a universalist vision, right there at Islam's inception.
That's a great point. And finally, it showcases Negus's moral leadership. It stands as this beacon, really. His judgment was based entirely on justice and truth, not on religious affiliation or, political calculation primarily.
Right.
He saw the humanity, he saw the truth in the Muslims' plea, and he acted on it. He set this incredible precedent for what righteous governance looks like. Consider how radical this was back then, and how it still challenges our assumptions about interfaith relations today. It really urges us, I think, to look for that common ground, those shared ethical principles, above all else.
Find the Neguses of our time, perhaps?
Perhaps. So this deep dive into the First Hijra to Abyssinia, it truly reshapes how we view early Islamic history, doesn't it? It wasn't just this straight line from Mecca to Medina. It involved an African Christian king who opened his court, protected vulnerable Muslims, when even their own relatives, their own countrymen, wouldn't.
A crucial intervention.
In doing so, Negus helped preserve Islam's future. He ensured it had the space it needed to grow, to eventually thrive, shaping world history in ways we're probably still only beginning to fully appreciate.
Absolutely, a pivotal moment.
But his legacy, I think, offers us something more, something for you, the listener, to maybe ponder on. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other pivotal historical moments of interfaith cooperation, of mutual understanding, are still overlooked in our collective memory?
Buried into the louder narratives of conflict, perhaps.
Exactly. Buried under narratives of conflict. And what profound lessons could we learn from those stories today about fostering justice, empathy, and understanding across the many divides, religious, cultural, political, that still challenge our world?